It is not a race problem in America.
When you say that, a lot of people would disagree with you, and they would say, "How could you say that? You know, maybe you're maybe it wasn't back then, but you don't know the America today. You know, you don't know what's going on with the challenges they're facing and the level of racism they're experiencing today in the marketplace because maybe you are disconnected, kind of like how you were when you thought everybody was black until you joined the army and you realized that your unit only 8 were black. What do you say to the people that literally 100% disagree with you, and they say there is racism today? It is a challenge.
From the get go, you hear Bob come out with a point, and then you actually have a great, healthy counter question to the point Bob just made from Patrick. Great question, Patrick. Let's see how Bob responds.
Challenging time today. What do you say to them?
I say, look at the evidence. Look at the evidence. You know, a lot of people are like the farmer that came to the creek when it was like coming, it was 3 feet high and moving at about 20 miles an hour, and he forced the mule in and they were swept down the creek.
Okay.
A year later, he comes to the same crossing. This time it's only 6 inches. The mule refuses to go in because the mule had good memory but poor judgment.
Oh, that is a deep statement that he just said. Man, let's go a little deeper, man. Let's go a little deeper. Come on.
Conditions were not like they were back in segregation when I was locked up twice in Mississippi. The conditions have changed, but many of us have.
So right there from the get-go, Bob, who's born in 1937, which is, I think, right at the tail end or of the Depression. So Bob brings not an authority type of discussion. He brings an experiential saying that, okay, I know I communicated racism doesn't exist in America as a problem. He actually has experienced racism, so to speak. And the thing about it is my mom actually agreed with him concerning that because my mom did as well also. But man, let's keep going. Man. This is so healthy. Let's go.
But again, look at the evidence. When whites were at their worst, we were at our best. As I said, in 1930 to 1940, when segregation and racism was enshrined in law, blacks had the highest marriage rate of any group in society. Elderly people could walk safely in those.
That's an interesting point. So he is confirming in the 1930s that when racism was actually enshrined into law, he was saying that African Americans actually there were higher marriages. That was interesting to hear. Didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that fact at all. But hey, let's keep going, guys. I digress. My bad.
Those communities without fear of being assaulted by their grandchildren. So let's look at the evidence. When we refused access to hotels, we built our own hotels, financed by our own means.
Well, wait a minute. And I mean, so we're building our own hotels now. I'm loving this untold history. I'm loving this because of the fact that we only hear a certain type of history, but he's bringing us a different perspective that he's experienced himself because he lived back then. Let's keep going because he begins naming some hotels. Here we go.
The Wallahaji in Atlanta, the Carver and Calvert Hotel in Florida.
Wow.
The St. Charles in Chicago, the St. Teresa in New York. I could go on and on. When we were denied access to colleges, we built our own. And in fact, our small business formation rate was higher than whites in the 20s, and that really determines any groups.
Wait. So entrepreneurship was higher in the 20s in the black community than the whites? That fact, I didn't know that at all. So this is untold history that me specifically, I didn't know about. He was naming hotels, black hotels. And I love what Bob said is when we were not let into hotels back in the 20s and 30s, we built our own with our own means. Man, I'm loving this type of talk about black history. Let's get it. And then he talked about how entrepreneurship in the 20s was higher in the black community than the white community. This is not a bash on the white community at all. We're just talking about black history here. This is great information. Where was this information at? Why don't we know this information about our black history? This is excellence. Let's keep going, y'all. What's good, y'all? The Bugs here. Most individuals that I've talked to today, they're really concerned about the economy, specifically the volatility of it. Number one, they're really concerned about inflation. Now, the area of their concerns really centers around the variable of inflation. Inflation right now is really outpacing people's wages, number one. And number two, it's beginning to affect their 401k and IRAs because their retirement accounts are connected or intertwined with the stock market. Over the years, I've been fairly successful in real estate investing. Currently, I own about $35 million worth of real estate under management. And also my partner and I have been able to build our private equity and venture capital firm to about $1.2 billion worth of assets under management. Now, this success has taken place in up or down economies. Now, whenever there's volatility in the market, opportunities begin to show up. There are 3 investment strategies that, if implemented the correct way, any investor can go from 0 to 6 figures in the next 6 to 12 months. Click on the link below or swipe up and let's talk through these strategies.
Participation in the economy, it is not what government does for you or what white people do. In fact, I think those who continue to push this race agenda are Eurocentric.
Ooh.
They assume that the destiny of blacks is determined by what white people do. That has never been the case.
Whoa.
We closed the education gap in the South between 1920 and 1940. How do we do it? Julius Rosenwald, the CEO of Sears, came together with Booker T. Washington, and he put up $4 million. The black community matched it with $4.8 million. We built 5,000 schools to teach ex-slaves how to read and write.
Wait a minute. Huh? Where is this history at? It's showing that we actually had means, we had intelligence, we had strategy, we had know-how, we know how to structure deals. This is excellence. Where is this history at? Building, so the CEO of the Sears Roebuck Company partnered with Booker T. Washington in the black community, and they had 8.8 million, 4 million coming from the CEO of Sears, and then at 4.8 coming from the black community, and it's 8.8, and we built 5,000 schools. Like, where is this history? And it's to teach slaves how to read. Where is this history at? This is excellence. Where is this type of talk from? Let's keep going.
And as a consequence of that study, that in between 1920 and 1940, the education gap in the South between whites and blacks was 3 years. 8th grade for whites, 5th grade for blacks. Mm-hmm. Within 20 years, that gap closed within 6 months.
Wow.
There were 5 high schools at the turn of the century in New York, Baltimore, Washington, Atlanta, and New Orleans.
Yeah.
They had used textbooks, overcrowded classrooms, half the budgets of white schools.
Huh?
But every one of those schools out-tested every white school in those cities.
What?
If we were able to close the education gap between 1920 and 1940,
wow,
through self-determination and hard work, if we were able to out-test white schools in those cities,
wow,
then the question is, in those same schools today in Baltimore, for instance, where they're run by blacks, not a single student could read at grade level or perform at grade level. And so how...
I'm hearing a lot of excellence here. Like where is this history? Where are these numbers? Where is this data? Like, this is excellence here. This is awesomeness here. This is, man, this is, it just shows you when a people group, or when anyone, a business, a people group comes together behind, on one accord, behind one vision with the same mission, you can accomplish so much. Look at this excellence. Where is this information at? Let's keep going, Bob. Teach us something.
How can you say that it is racism that is the cause of the present day challenges?
Okay.
When under segregation, we achieved. One other example we gave.
So he's saying at the height of racism, right, which he was birthed in, 1937, and grew through the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, on up, right? He's saying is when racism was enshrined into law, blacks were succeeding, were killing the game. Now, of course, you actually have your hindrances, of course, no problem. It is what it is. I'm rocking with you. We're not negating any of that, but he's giving evidence, facts of excellence, black excellence. Where is this history at? Now, watch this, guys. As my mom and I were listening to this when we were driving, now she was born in the 60s, right? She was listening to this information. And so my mom, guys, she is a super liberal. She votes 100% Democrat, and it's all fine. That's great. No problem with it at all. I am independent, but I lean conservative, right? Bob Woodward is a conservative, right? And what tripped me out is as she was listening to this, I said, Mom, you bring a different intellect to this than I do because you've actually lived some of the history he's talking about, right? She said, yes. I said, is what he's saying, are you aware of this history here? My mom said what he's talking about concerning the Sears Roebuck and the black community raising $8.8 million and building 5,000 schools for black slaves to be able to read. Didn't know about that at all. She said, I didn't know anything about hotels or none of that. So what he's saying at the time frame, she said, I myself, son, I didn't know any of the information. I'm like, well, that's a problem. We should be knowing this information. Why don't we know it? This is excellence. Excellence in execution. Why don't we know this? Why is this being withheld from us? I want to know.